Thank you all for being here. We are so excited to have you here today. My name is Mark. Are you good? Just checking it out. Okay. We're so excited that you're here. We're trying something new tonight. First time, so you're here as we make Nampa history. We're live streaming this on our Facebook, and we'll be hopefully interacting, engaged citizens and trying to answer their questions that they might have. But we'll get right to it. So my name is Amy Bowman, Communications Manager. This is being live streamed here on our Facebook, and it's also on our regular live streaming thing. Today is the 6th of June. The mayor wanted me to make sure I mentioned that in case people watch this later. And really, for those that may be commenting online, we do just ask that people are respectful, they're kind, and that they give us suggestions that staff can consider. I think we all appreciate constructive suggestions. So with that, I'll introduce Mayor Kling, who is here to get us going.
Good evening. Well, we have a few people here this evening. Thank you for your interest in our community. We appreciate it because we have a great community. And I am so thrilled as I look to the future. I'm just thankful I get to live here and be a part of this community, and I think we have a great future ahead. The reason we're here tonight is that we have been working on a comprehensive plan. And so as we're working on that plan, we've had a group of citizens, about 60 citizens, that have worked with us and given us input, and we have an idea of the direction that we're moving forward. But you know what? Once we've kind of gotten to this point, we want to hear what you have to say. Are we going the right direction? Did we nail it? We're trying to, and I will say even myself, as we have come to this point where we're kind of bringing it to completion, it's like, okay, so I've talked to some developers. There are some other areas of input that I realize that we need to get regarding land use map. So we're here to hear from you and to hear from each of you and get ideas. So let's see, I guess I should get to the next slide. There we go. So why are we here? That's why we're here. The advisory group did come forward with recommendations, as I mentioned, and so we're going to be listening to those recommendations tonight, and you'll hear those in just a couple of minutes. But we so appreciate the advisory group. They spent over 4 months in a number of different meetings. We got a lot of good input, and I so appreciate the time of our citizens that they're willing to give and help give us direction and help us go in the right direction. So we greatly appreciate that. I fully believe that the input of our community really matters, and we do want to listen. And so that's, again, why we're here, so that we can just continue to get that feedback. Before we move on, I do want to mention that we have the census coming in 2020. There's a lot of preparation for the census. And I am actually newly aware, I should have known this, but how critically important the participation that we get for our census is in our community. because the funding that comes to our community is based on the census. So we need everybody to participate. And so we do have a committee that's being formed of citizens that want to help get the word out. So if anybody's interested in that, we would welcome participation and involvement from citizens that want to get involved in just helping us get the word out on the census, because it is critically important. And lastly, I just want to mention that we're in the midst of strategic planning, and we're just in the process of it, but the goal as we get through this process, the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan really go hand in hand together. They don't stand apart from one another. But one of the most important things about strategic planning is that we actually have action plans and that we look at it and it guides us. We don't just say we're going to do something, just like this comprehensive plan is something that is a living document. We have a land use map, right? And we're going to have vision and we're going to set goals for where we are and where we need to be. At the same time, there may be an adjustment that comes along in the next many years because this is a 2040 plan. Our strategic plan will be in the 5 to 10 year range. My goal was to have a 10-year budget plan. In reality, I think it's going to need to be more of a 5-year budget plan with some projections out to 10 years, just because it's very difficult to project that, in 10 years. But we are working on that because in my opinion, it's very important that we make good plans that take us into the future. So one of the things that we've been doing and that we're in the midst of right now is a bicycle and pedestrian master plan, which has to do with our bike paths and our walking paths that are so important to our community. They have to do with health, they have to do with quality of life, just being able to get out and enjoy your community. So having connectedness, right, in our paths, so you can ride your bikes, you can walk. But we're in the midst of a master plan, and there will be opportunity to give input into that master plan. And later tonight, we're going to hear from Darren Johnson, and I think he's going to speak briefly on our master plan. Another thing that we're in the middle of, I mentioned the strategic action plan, and we've talked about the comprehensive master plan that you see up there and the census, but I also want to mention that we have 2 other master plans that we're in the midst of. The transportation master plan. You'll hear from Tom Points, our public works director, in a little bit about our transportation master plan and where we're headed, and that is an extremely important document. Another plan that we're not talking about really tonight is the airport master plan. And we may touch on it, I'm not sure. If anybody has any questions, you can certainly ask when we get into our breakout sessions. Those plans all come into and help complete our comprehensive plan. And so the comprehensive plan, where I thought we'd maybe have it done maybe by September, it won't get done until the end of the year at some point, because what's important is we do it right. And we need these other master plans to all dovetail into it. And so that's kind of where we are right now. The goal is that we are listening to you. And I think that's just extremely important. And one way that we've tried to get citizen feedback this last year, my first year in office, a year ago, we took a community survey, and we did one this year. And so I don't know that you can see this, but basically our community survey asked some questions about what was important to our citizens. The number 1 priority that came out was public safety. I so appreciate, thank you to our fire crew that's here tonight. Thank you. And thank you to police. Jason, thank you for being here. And there will be some opportunities to ask questions about public safety directly to them when we do our breakout session. That was the number 1 that you can see in that top blue line. The second one was infrastructure improvements. The third one was traffic control. So infrastructure improvements really have to do with transportation. Some of that can be water, but I think the public, they're thinking probably the transportation side, but infrastructure is extremely important. Traffic control was number 3. It's funny because number 4 was education, which the city does not control education, so that just got slipped in there, but education is important to our community, so that's good to know. And then land use planning. And then it goes down to business development and other things. But a year ago when we did our survey, it was worded just a hair differently, but again, the number 1 thing, police, fire, streets. And economic development was number 4 a year ago. And so I think that's what we're hearing, is that this is what's important to our community. So with that, then we that guides our planning because we're listening and saying, okay, so streets are really important, public safety is important. So what do we do with that? So, well, this was transportation and traffic congestion, reducing wait times at intersections, street widening on busy roads, travel times to commercial centers and I-84. We said in public hearings, and what do we hear? I mean, we have some council members here tonight, and thank you so much to our council members for being here. Victor, Darrell, thank you. Is anybody else here that I missed? Thank you. And thank you to all the staff, by the way, that are here that have contributed to this. But we do hear from our citizens that congestion is a problem, waits at certain intersections are a problem, and so just know that we're listening and working on that. Public safety concerns were maintaining a high level of service, school safety, and safe neighborhoods. And those are things that we think about, that we hear, and we're listening. Managing growth, my goodness, this last year, about every forum that I speak at and when all the mayors are together, that is the topic. What are you doing about growth? Well, you know what? Our goal with growth is that we make wise decisions. And you know, for the council and for those that are making decisions, well, myself or anyone else, you never intend to not make a good decision, right? But you can only make a good decision if you have good information. And so that's why we're trying to listen. We're trying to provide council with good information to make decisions, because managing growth is not easy. And it's coming so quickly. And so every community in the Treasure Valley is faced with the challenges of how do we deal with growth. So that's why we're talking bike and ped, quality of life, ag space, loss of open space. I am a huge proponent of preservation of ag ground. And we just had a discussion about growing up and not out. We need to protect our ag ground, but we need to make wise decisions and infill to the extent that we can. Preservation of Nampa's historic downtown is very important. And I'm so excited about where our downtown is going. And we had some great announcements today with a $100,000 fund that has been set up, that has been donated through Main Street to our downtown to help fund some things. And anyway, I could talk a long time, and I won't, because we have a lot to cover and you need to hear from staff. But keeping housing affordable is the other item that is extremely important. So to give time to our other staff, you're going to be hearing from a number of staff members, and they're going to go over various different things, but we're going to start with Doug. And Doug, you're on. And Doug is going to walk us through this comprehensive plan work that we've done, talk about the various meetings and all that we've accomplished so that you guys have an idea of what's taken place. Do you need my notes up here to flip through? No?
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and to present this to you and the public. So some of you may be asking, what is a comprehensive plan? That's probably the most rudimentary question we have to get through. And for those that are listening, I have in my hands about a 2-inch thick binder. This is the current comprehensive plan for 2035. It's a 200-plus page document that really describes the city and our vision. It's a series of statements, if you will, about what we want the city to look like over the next 20 years. And it's a requirement. Each community in Idaho is required to have a comprehensive plan. And it covers things like property rights and population growth, housing, transportation, public safety. And all of these are discussed somewhat in detail about how we see ourselves going in the next 20 years. So one thing that it is not a zoning document. It's a plan. We do refer to the comprehensive plan when we have zoning questions, but it is not a zoning document. It's not codified. And so it allows for a lot of flexibility. And so about every 5 years or so, we're going to go through this exercise again of updating this comprehensive plan to reflect what we want the community to look like. What we did then, this is our first update of the 2035 plan, and we have in the audience tonight Norm Holm and Rodney Ashby. Rodney was involved with with the 2035 plan. Norm's been here through the entire process, and it's really evolved, and we're really thrilled to be able to deliver this new plan with some new ideas and ways that we can address these issues. So let's see, I've got to figure out how to use this. This one is the next slide, I think. I just turned it off. Okay. Oh, there we are. Okay. Okay. All right. As the mayor mentioned, we had a series of workshops. We had 4 workshops. They were starting in October of last year, and they concluded in February. And we met in a forum similar to this, where we would discuss different aspects of the comprehensive plan. One of the issues that we had with the 2035 plan is that it was very detailed, and it's a wonderfully detailed plan, but it kind of sat on the shelf a little bit because it was kind of difficult to work through. There were a lot of strategies that came out of the plan, over 730 strategies that we had a little bit of problem digesting. So one of the things that we were asking the group to do was help us take these strategies, take the 2035 plan goals and objectives, and turn them into something meaningful for us. So in workshop 1, we had some very generic questions. What was the committee's top priorities? What did they consider to be the community's values? And what did they see the role of government in helping to achieve those values and those priorities? And they gave us some great feedback, and that's in your handout. In the second meeting, we then started to take a look at our future land use map. The land use map, which is behind me here, again, is a series of statements. It's not a zoning map, but it does tell us what we'd like to see happening in various geographic areas of the community. And so we had some discussion about transportation and pathways and economic development, and how this map was going to reflect those values that we were looking at. In workshop number 3, which we had in January, we took a look at those future land use map, and we made changes to the map, over 50 changes to the map from the 2035 plan, based on what the input that we received. We also looked at the map compared to what's really going on in the community. And we wanted the future land use map to reflect what was actually going on the ground, so that there's some cohesiveness in our planning efforts. What started to happen, as the mayor mentioned, is that priorities in these discussions started to come out. The community started telling us things over and over and over that we were hearing. Of course, we've heard public safety and transportation, but there were other things like business retention and mixed use residential and commercial. Now, I'll talk a little bit about what mixed use means, but there was some interest in live, work, and play in Nampa. There's a real concern that the kids these days are going to school here, but then they're leaving to go elsewhere for work, and they're not staying in the community. The demographics of the community is changing. It's aging. Our community is aging, and so there's some concern about retention and keeping families together and keeping them in this area, and making this a desirable place for people to live, work, and play. And then we reviewed all these strategies and started to daylight and highlight some of the strategies that were really important and that would support some of these emerging priorities. What we did then is that we gathered this information together, and in workshop 4, and that was we looked at the map. In workshop 4, we took the priorities, we took the strategies, we melded them together. We said, okay, out of 730 strategies, we were able to narrow it down to about 20 to 30 strategies that were really important that came out of the 2035 plan. And we will show you this one in the fall. We'll show you that process and those strategies and how they're influencing the changing and the updating of this document. And then we started our discussion on the strategic plan, our mission, vision, and core values and focus areas. And the mayor worked and the council worked together with a representative from Spark Solutions to help us develop that strategic plan. And I think that's still in process. We've got it nailed down, but we're going to be hearing a little bit more from you, hopefully, about that in the future. So I wanted to just zero in on these priorities, because this is what is driving a lot of our decision making. So we've talked about the, traffic congestion, but affordable housing is a big issue here in this area. We've noticed that the housing prices have risen. Last year it was around 18% rise in housing prices. our population is increasing exponentially. We're up to around 102,000 now in our population. And in any community, when you reach about 100,000, a lot of really critical decisions have to start to be made. How are we going to keep public safety staffed appropriately? How are we going to keep our roads and our infrastructure working such that we don't have these problems? And some of you have already started to experience some of the things that a fast-growing community is dealing with. The quality of life, people are concerned that Nampa has a character, has a feeling about it. They want to maintain that feeling. There's a reason why people moved here. What is it about Nampa that makes people want to move here and stay here? So that was a very important issue. There's also an interest in economic diversity. We don't want to be a community where we're just supporting one industry or another. There's an interest in having several industries here. The connectivity is important. As Napa starts to grow towards Meridian and Caldwell, pretty soon Treasure Valley is just going to be one big community. Well, what's that going to look like? How are you going to know which community that you're in? What's the character of that community? And then the promotion of infill development where we have vacant lots, and that's an important part of the discussion. But one of the critical ones that we've talked about is mixed use. And mixed use is an integration of retail, of living, professional office, it can be recreation, hotels, plazas, live work. It's the ability to put onto a lot or into a parcel things that were typically bifurcated by zoning. It allows us to bring those together in kind of a more of an interesting design. And that makes it a very livable environment. Excuse me, a few communities around the country are going to this model. And it's something that is less land intensive, allows for more open space, starts to grow up instead of out so that it can help us reduce the urban sprawl that goes on with growth. So those are the priorities that we're dealing with now. As we update this document, you read through it, you'll start to see how this influences the information that we have. So that's all I have, and Tom's going to come up and talk with us a little bit about the transportation and the airport master plan.
Good evening. Thanks for attending our meeting. I appreciate it. I'm Tom. I'm in Public Works, and as Doug said, I'm going to go over the Transportation Master Plan and the Airport Master Plan. We'll start with the Transportation Master Plan. The Transportation Master Plan is about 6 years old, and we've had tremendous growth in the past 6 years, so it's time to update our plan with the new priorities. The Transportation Master Plan is based on data, so we look at crash data across the city, and we look at delay times at intersections, and that's how we fund projects. That's how they're prioritized. Also, from the Transportation Master Plan, we pulled out projects that would be funded through impact fees. If you've been reading the paper, Nampa City Council authorized an increase in the impact fees here recently in the past few months. So there's a lot of the projects from the impact fee program came out of this Transportation Master Plan. So there is about 141 capital projects and about $532 million worth of work projected out to 2040. Not all of those are funded, and that's part of the challenge that we're working on right now. We've made a good step with increasing the impact fee, but now we're continuing to look for more ways to fund transportation. So that's, and we also heard from the community, transportation is important, so that our next phase of this was how do you pay for it, or how do you get there? And we need about $17 million a year roughly in revenues to fund the needs that were identified. And so we have a three-phased plan, and we just got through phase one, which was impact fees, and then that's paid by builders when they come pull a building permit, and then there's a 1% property tax increase to help support the match that goes along with these projects, because the developers cannot pay for an existing deficiency. So if there's an intersection that's got pavement that's bad in the middle that was there, that would be a city cost, and then the widening of that intersection would be a development cost. So that was step one. Step two, which in the next, from now 2020 to 24, we're going to look regionally across the county and talk to all the highway districts and city about implementing a small registration fee, which could bring in another $2.5 million in revenue to Nampa. And then farther than that, in 2025, we don't currently have a way to fund stormwater and all the gutter, the drains that go under the roads that take the rain out and take care of that. We don't have a funding source for that. So that's another one we'll be looking at into the future. And then our airport master plan. So one of the big takeaways to know about that is that the existing runway, we're not looking at lengthening that. We looked at all the different planes that come in and use that facility and its size appropriately today. And one of the things the master plan is looking at now is how do we develop what's there today? How do we become the best airport that we can? And so we're looking at what we do for hangars and some of the building outlays on the facility. So we're underway on that master plan. We've got several public meetings still coming. I think we got a couple more before we final this up in the fall. So Darren's going to, and I'll be over here during the workshop if you want to ask me any questions about transportation and projects. I have a map over there with the various projects that we're planning on doing in the next 4 or 5 years.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Darren Johnson. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. And so tonight we'll be speaking about master planning for our public pathways. And one of the questions that we get most often is why don't you start a pathway at the beginning and build it all the way through until the end without the gaps? And what we tell people is, well, building pathways is a lot like putting together a puzzle. Sometimes we have to wait for development to take place. Sometimes we have to wait until we have money to purchase land. Sometimes we have to wait until somebody will be willing to sell us land to put the pathway together. And so it's quite a feat, but I can tell you, once we start building sections and we have gaps, that it sets us up in a really good spot to get grant funding to close the gaps. This update is that we've started, Alta Planning is been contracted to help us put together a new updated plan. And who spearheads this plan is our bicycle and pedestrian group. They're a very active group in our community that have just a lot of interest in alternative types of transportation. They want to get away from the cars and make it safe for people to walk around the community, bike around the community without getting into a car. And so it makes it really nice, and it's also good for recreation and creates a healthy community. What we'll talk about and what we're partnering with is with transportation. Parks kind of deals with the off-street transportation. And so we have a really good working relationship, our Parks Department with our Public Works Department, on how we can connect the off-street with the on-street transportation. There was a mapping tool that we had. It's on the city's website. They were taking feedback on this mapping tool. It's on the city's website. There was a link, and our community members could go and look at our map, look at the pathways, and comment about intersections, connections, things that they want to see. I believe the comment period for that is over, but I think it would be worth it if you have a lot of interest in that. You can go look at the comments, and like what's been talked about earlier tonight, there will be times for more feedback. I'll be in the back out in the hall, and if you have any questions about pathways or interest in connections or some of the upcoming pathways that we'll be building next year, I'll be happy to answer those questions. And I think with that, I look forward to talking to you. And Robin Sellers is up next.
Hi. Good evening. I was going to say good morning, but it's not morning anymore. My name's Robin Sellers. I work in the Economic and Community Development Department. I'm the Assistant Director, and I'm going to talk about the downtown plan. At the end of last summer, in August, we began doing a plan with the Idaho Department of Commerce they have a specific plan that's called the Downtown Assessment Program. And Nampa was their guinea pig city for the for the state of Idaho to participate in this program. And so what that consisted of was bringing together focus groups at first. We brought together several focus groups to listen to folks about what they thought about downtown, where areas, things that they liked, things they didn't like, things they would like to see, and we got lots of feedback back from our focus groups. From those focus groups, then we made a community survey, and the community survey went out to a much wider population of folks. And we got lots of data back about how people would like to see the downtown, what they enjoy. From that, then we worked with the Department of Commerce to do results tabulation and to give some recommendations for the downtown area on things that we could improve upon. And also things that people enjoyed. The major thing that we heard was that people enjoyed that Nampa was family friendly and they wanted to see it remain family friendly. And that there's some things that from the Department of Commerce that they gave us recommendations on. And so those are, some of them are, the main ones were to reinvigorate Nampa's Main Street organization. Main Street is a national program that is all over the United States, and the cities use it nationwide to rejuvenate their downtown areas and rejuvenate their main streets. Nampa is a Main Street community, and we had an exciting announcement today for Main Street, where Nampa was given $100,000 to do facade improvement in downtown Nampa. And so that's a unique thing that our community has received. Additionally, in that area, we're working on assembling our Main Street board currently. We hope to announce that in late July, early August, with who will be part of that board, and get Main Street really, really going in our community. The next was to encourage evening and weekend hours with our businesses. Something that has happened since we've received those recommendations is that we now have a Downtown After 5. That's a monthly event, and then a standing Sunday shopping event that our Business Improvement District participates in. The third one was parking. I think parking is probably one of the hottest topics any community has. And so we listened to feedback from citizens. We went through a community survey also with parking to hear about how people felt about parking. And some of the feedback that we received from our business owners and from customers, we changed the parking in the downtown core, that most of it is now 4 hours, and then there's some that is unrestricted parking around the outside, and then there's about a 2-block radius square, I'm making a square, that is, I should have put that in, that is now just still 2 hours. And then the fourth one is to pursue dining and beverage businesses. So the one thing that people really wanted to see downtown is more dining options, and we are very excited because we have some great restaurants that have recently opened and will open over the next month and a half to 2 months. So Mesa Tacos, The Block had their ribbon cutting today right downtown. Holy Cow Burgers, which is going to open next month. V-Cut Lounge, and 2C Family Brewing, which will open in about 2 weeks. So lots of new restaurants and places to go downtown. And finally, our activities and events. We have Fourth Fridays that are back downtown now that we're done with construction. That was last summer. And we have a midweek farmers market at Flying M that's happening right now. And that's new too. So the city's has a big focus on the downtown, and we're excited to do more work on the downtown with our Main Street Board coming together this summer. And with that, I will be up here by the planning and zoning folks up here if you have any questions.
I'd like to say thank you to the staff. As we put this together, there's a lot of information that we could cover, and each piece that was just talked about for literally minutes takes hundreds of hours and a lot of work. There is so much detail. And as we want to share with citizens what's happening, it's hard to figure out how do we present it to you in a way that you can capture it and that it's meaningful to you, right? And that you understand it and give you opportunity for feedback. And so what we did was just give you a very high level overview of what we're working on with all these plans. And with that, we will be wrapping up our transportation master plan late summer, maybe early fall. The bicycle and ped plan will be fall, airport master plan fall, and I said all this earlier, and then we'll finish these other couple plans. But there's a lot yet to do. And so we thought we would give you time to actually have one-on-one conversations. We need to know what your questions are. We need to know what you would like to better understand. And so we have these breakout areas. We've got I guess I should change this. So public safety, Jason Kimball is going to be over here and available to answer questions. Any of our firefighters that would like to join on public safety, please feel free to. Transportation is going to be right here. Tom points, in addition to transportation, we did not even touch on wastewater, domestic water, irrigation. As you all know, we have a wastewater treatment plant that's being built. And we have just had some amazing awards and recognitions nationally for the great work that's being done here. We have such an amazing team of professionals working for the city, and I'm proud of them on the work that they do. But so we didn't talk about that, and I'm going to come back and I'll finish that sentence later. But so you can talk to Tom when you talk transportation. If you have questions about water, wastewater, he's the guy to ask. And then the future land use map for that is going to be up here. And Norm and Rodney and Doug will be up here. And then bike and pedestrian is out in the hallway. So, our focus as a city is to serve our community. And so we're working we have 700 employees that work in all sorts of different areas, but the message that's coming to them is that we are here to serve our community. And so that's our intent in what we do. And so how best do you serve, right? We're not perfect, but we really are going to try hard. And we have great people that I'm very proud of. And I appreciate the work that gets done. So, so we're going to pause for about 25 minutes. We're going to let you get up and go around, and I'll let our staff head to their stations. And please ask any questions that you have of our staff. And then at 7 o'clock, we're going to turn around and do the same thing all over again. Thank you so much for caring about your community. It's appreciated. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the staff. So enjoy asking questions.
So they're right there with the brand.
We do have a problem. Oh, do you? I mean, even a striping, do not block intersection or something. So you do have something planned for that?
Yeah, so this is a very good deal plan, but the problem is that third and industrial.
Right, it's off on industrial, yeah.
Between those lights that we can operate. Right?
Yeah.
So what we want to do. That's okay. Access back south.
you.